Stocks turn mixed as Boeing weighs on the Dow. Stocks are Makeda Mundi, starting off a busy week that will be highlighted by a key Federal Reserve meeting. The S&P 500 climbed 0.1% as the financials and energy sectors outperformed. The Nasdaq also Boeing fell more than 2.5% after the Wall Street Journal reported the Department of Transportation and federal prosecutors were scrutinizing the development of the company's 737 MAX planes. This comes after Facebook shares also fell nearly 2% after an analyst at Needham downgraded the company to hold from buy, citing worries about Facebook's pivot to privacy and encrypted messages as well as the possibility of more regulatory scrutiny. Investors braced themselves for a busy week, highlighted by a Federal Reserve meeting that kicks off on Tuesday. Market expectation: when FOMC members meet this week, they will find that, since their last get-together at the end of January, short-term yield relationships are still forewarning lower growth despite concerted jawboning efforts that include the promise of ending balance sheet reduction early, said Stephen Blitz, chief U.S. economist at T.S. Lombard. The Fed signaled it will be patient in raising rates at its previous meeting this year. The two-year Treasury, the equity market, lifted by the return of easier money from central banks globally as well as the Fed, is a positive without question, but we wonder how long this lift will last, considering the likely negative impact on earnings expectations from weakening trends in U.S. economic data and in much of the rest of the world, Blitz said. Wall Street is also focused on U.S.-China trade discussions. The two countries, the S&P 500 is up more than 12% this year and is on pace to post its biggest quarterly gain since the third quarter of 2009. Jonathan Golub, chief U.S. equity strategist at Credit Suisse, hiked his 2019 target on the S&P 500 to 3,025 from 2,925. The strategist's Golub's new target implies a 20% upside for the S&P 500. CNBC's Sylvia Amaro contributed to this report.
Raindrop, drip, drop top, top smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park, pot.